Before you pause this video to work on the question, please take a look at your three viewing options. First, there's the tab shown here, which has information about the wind chill chart. Next, you have the second tab with information about current weather conditions. And in this last screen, we've placed the two charts on one page to make it easier to view the information. Alright, now you can pause the video and answer the question before continuing. Alright, let's begin with the first statement. It suggests that there's a positive correlation between the perceived temperature and wind speed. Let's see if that's true. We'll take some random column on our chart where the air temperature remains constant, and we'll see what happens to the perceived temperature as the wind speed increases. If there is indeed a positive correlation, then as one variable increases, the other will also increase. So let's start here, where the wind speed is 5 miles per hour. Notice that each time we increase the wind speed, the perceived temperature decreases. Since the perceived temperature decreases as the wind speed increases, there's no positive correlation here. In fact, this information suggests that there's a negative correlation between perceived temperature and wind speed. As such, our response to the first statement will be no. Okay, on to the next statement. It concerns the possible frostbite danger in each of the 5 cities. Now, the slow way to tackle this question is to meticulously determine the perceived temperature in each city. However, as you'll see, we don't need to be very precise here. To begin, first notice that the frostbite danger seems to start when the perceived temperature is minus 19 degrees. Now when we examine City C, we can see that the air temperature here is minus 20. Now from the chart, we can see that any kind of wind makes the perceived temperature even lower than the air temperature. So if the air temperature at City C is minus 20, then the perceived temperature will be minus 20 or lower. Since we already know that perceived temperatures of minus 19 and lower cause frostbite, we can conclude that there must be a frostbite danger in City C. Now what about these two cities where the temperatures are around 25 degrees? Well, notice that we don't need to know anything about the wind speed for these cities, since the chart indicates that with a temperature of 20 or 25 degrees, any wind speed from 5 miles per hour to 50 miles per hour does not pose a frostbite problem. Since the wind speeds at all 5 cities here are well below 50 miles per hour, we can conclude that there's no frostbite danger in cities B and D. Okay, what about City A? Here the air temperature is about minus 11 or minus 12 degrees. When we check the minus 10 degree column on our chart, we can see that there's definitely a frostbite danger at any wind speed. Since City A's air temperature is less than minus 10 degrees, we can conclude that there must be a frostbite danger at City A. Finally, we have City E. This is the only city that requires us to be somewhat precise. Now, the air temperature here is 0 degrees, so let's check the column for an air temperature of 0 degrees. Now, the scatter plot also tells us that the wind speed at City E is 20 miles per hour. So when we check the corresponding box on the chart, we can see that there is a frostbite danger at this perceived temperature. So City E also has frostbite weather. So we can now see that there are 3 cities where there's a danger of frostbite, which means our response to the second statement is yes. Finally, the last statement concerns possible wind speeds given information about air temperature and perceived temperature. Well, first notice that the statement concerns a hypothetical situation in which the air temperature is greater than minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So on our chart, we need only concern ourselves with entries in this region, where the air temperature is greater than minus 10 degrees. Now the statement requires us to determine whether or not a wind speed of 20 miles per hour is possible. So let's examine the row corresponding to a 20 mile per hour wind. Given this wind speed, is it possible to have a perceived temperature of minus 25 degrees? Sure, it's right here between minus 22 degrees and minus 29 degrees. This means that if the wind speed is 20 miles per hour and the air temperature is between 0 degrees and minus 5 degrees, then it is possible to have a perceived temperature of minus 25 degrees. Since the scenario in the third statement is possible, our response to the statement is yes. So these are the correct responses to our question.